Peace, family, peace. Peace and elevation. It's your brother Mike X. Welcome to another clip from my YouTube channel, BruthaMikeXSpeaks. I'm going to strive real hard to keep this short and sweet. But just know that you can listen to a message like this while you're cooking, while you're doing chores, you know what I mean? While you're in the shower, you know what I mean? While you're driving, you don't necessarily have to focus on, screen time, so to speak, And I listen to a lot of YouTube videos, documentaries, self-help books that have been, transcribed to video, particularly while I'm driving, to enhance my learning curve, I read. I've always been a lifelong learner. Someone who reads, that's my first love. And I've read thousands of books in my lifetime. And I hope to read thousands more before my lifetime is over. But to enhance my learning curve, I also listen again, to documentaries, to messages, that have been put forward, in public discourse and consumption, man, to edify, the population, the populace, so to speak, so that we can, having come to know better, based upon our own efforts to learn, and those of other people to contribute to teaching, from their perspective. We can light up the darkness. We don't have to submit or commit ourselves to any forms of trauma bonding, of misery loves company, you know what I mean? Of crabs in the barrel, of holding on to forms of suffering, forms of hatred and bigotry, as we narrow-mindedly fixate on what's best for me as opposed to what's best for us, as a society, as a humanity, as we sometimes fixate not just on what's best for us as individuals, but we fixate on what's best for my group, as a gender, as a so-called racial ethnic group. A lot of times we don't necessarily strive to be our best, to see how we can help to contribute a higher level of collaboration, in the society. A lot of times we fixate more on who can we outdo, who can we subjugate, you know what I mean? And how can we hold on to old patterns of division and chaos and violence, you know what I mean? And I think that that's so unfortunate, But I deliver this message, just like all my messages, with the hope that I can overflow and share, hope, faith, You know what I mean? Love, light, empathy, compassion, you know, permission, you know what I mean? Confidence, inspiration, encouragement to others to know that you have personal power. You can choose to rise above those old patterns of chaos, of confusion, of hatred, of bigotry, of prejudice, of division. You know what I mean? You don't have to fit in. You know what I mean? You're not locked in. You know, just because you are of a particular gender, just because you are of a particular age, you know, just because you are of a particular ethnicity or culture or so-called race, you do not have to fit in with old patterns of limitation, of narrow-mindedness, you know, again, of bigotry, of hatred, of prejudice. You can be an outlier, you know. You can begin to move on from the limited boxes that you may hail from. You know what I mean? Society looks upon Brother Mike as a black man, you know, who comes from the projects, who comes from the inner city, you know. And a lot of people, you know, who are used to judging a book by its cover would only see me as a black man, you know, as someone who comes from the projects. And I am that. But I'm more than that. You know what I mean? Brother Mike is an alchemist. You know, I practice mental, emotional, spiritual alchemy. You know, I practice a broad mindedness that has allowed me to explore various systems of thought, you know, of consciousness, of awareness. You know, I have a broad perspective made up of my knowledge, my understanding of various aspects outside of what is the norm that some people allow themselves to be limited to, you know. So there are a lot of perspectives that I have studied, that I have practiced and found great value in, that I have taken the best part of those systems of thought, of consciousness, of awareness, to help me to build up a unique way of looking at the world and a unique way of living my life. You know what I mean? According to my self-styled wisdom, like my brothers and sisters in the 5% Nation talk about. You know, I don't just ascribe or subscribe or limit myself to one narrow-minded way of looking at things that would force me to take upon myself a rigid stance in this world, that would give me enemies. You know what I mean? According to who doesn't believe what I believe. You know, I don't practice that. I don't subscribe to that. I don't limit myself to that. I know that two or more things can be true at the same time. You know, I've committed myself to being a lifelong learner, an open-minded lifelong learner, so that I can stand in my truth, you know what I mean, that is ever evolving and expanding as I continue to do the knowledge, you know what I mean, and add on to my threshold of consciousness, of awareness, you know what I mean? And I'm willing to share and then teach, but I'm also willing to learn from others, you know what I mean? Not just black, you know, not just men, you know, not just my age group. I'm willing to learn and I'm willing to listen to your perspective, you know, how you see things, what has worked for you, you know, and I want to know that the most. I don't just want to hear your uninformed opinions, you know what I mean? I would much rather you teach me and share with me from your examination of life, of the world, you know, of perspectives along the lines of subject matter that I may not have encountered thus far. You know what I mean? Something that you've been practicing, something that you have examined, you know, the truth or truths that you're standing in, you know. I'm willing to learn and I encourage you to share, you know, your truth with the intention to spread love, to spread light, to spread empathy and compassion and grace, you know, that comes from an understanding that you have fought for, you know, again, and that is working for you. That has allowed you to find your most positive purpose in this lifetime, to add on and to share with others, you know, with humanity at large, you know what I mean? So I'm already at 13 minutes, man. I'm gonna keep this under 20 minutes, man. Let's see if Brother Mike can keep this message under 20 minutes, you know. But I have to say it's difficult, man. There's so much that needs to be said to help us to make the most out of our lives and to make the most out of the opportunities that we have while we still have our lives. You know what I mean? The truths that we do not speak leave us without the solutions that we desperately need. And a lot of times, people are so afraid to be the outliers, to speak up when rational thought and rational discourse is desperately needed. A lot of times, man, we stay quiet, we stay shut. when a voice of love, when a voice of reason, when a voice of empathy and compassion needs to be heard. You know what I mean? Dr. King once said, in the end, we won't remember what our enemies said. We'll remember the silence of our friends. You know what I mean? And this is what goes on so very often. When you need someone to speak up on your behalf or on the behalf of justice, people are so afraid of what will be thought of them that they stay quiet. And then when whatever transpires, they talk up after the fact. Oh, brother such and such was great. He was good. Sister such and such really tried hard to save this community. Did you stand with sister such and such? Did you align yourself and try to help to support brother such and such? The problems that we don't confront today will be passed on to our children, to our grandchildren, to have to confront. And a lot of them will come to look upon our generation as cowards, as selfish, too afraid to stand up for and to pass on opportunities to build upon instead of problems to solve. You know what I mean? And for the life of me, man, you know, wow, man, I was getting ready to say, I don't know how we've become so fearful, but I do know, you know, a lot of times the outliers, they face a lot of scrutiny, you know. The captains of the status quo, you know, the way things are, the various corporations and industries, you know, that dictate the flow of economic opportunities and policies. A lot of times they punish the outliers, the ones who stand up for truth and rock the boat. They enforce patterns of get in to fit in. They enforce patterns of trauma bonding and addiction and addictive behaviors. You know what I mean? They make examples out of the outliers at times to make everyone else focus more on conformity to injustices and wrongs that need to be righted. You know what I mean? I just say, don't waste your life, family, trying to fit in with trauma. You know what I mean? Trying to bond through trauma. You know, we all don't like this neighborhood, or we all don't like this job, or we all don't like, you know, the people on the other side of town, or this country against that country, or this gender against that gender. A lot of you don't have a free, thoughtful, self-determining identity of who you really want to be. A lot of you are allowing yourself to live stunted, limited lives based upon fear, based upon fitting in with groups that you don't even believe in because you're too afraid to stand out. You know what I mean? And help to creatively and imaginatively provide solutions for a better life, a better society, a better world. You know what I mean? So having said that, man, I'm just striving to honestly continue to put out messages of hope, of empathy, of compassion for any and all who may need that, to help to inspire and encourage them to not give up. You know what I mean? I'm striving to help provide that. And also, honestly, man, this is my purpose. You know what I mean? This is my purpose. I found my purpose. And even when I wasn't so confident in my purpose, I still, over the years, man, have been consistent. You know, you can check my record. You know, those of you, pardon me, who know me know that Brother Mike has been consistent. You know what I mean? And has worked to create a legacy, man, of striving to be all that he can be, to help give others permission to do the same. You don't all have to claim the same lane that I'm in. You know what I mean? But find your positive purpose. Find your gift. Find your niche. Don't fit in, man, with depression. You know? Don't be paralyzed into procrastination through fear and worry and anxiety. Stand out. You know what I mean? Create a legacy that can be passed on to those coming up behind us. So having said that, it's a little over 20 minutes, man, but I tried. I'll see you next time. Leave a comment. Please share and subscribe. You know what I mean? And please fight to give your most positive example. Leave a legacy for others to take positive advantage of. All right. Peace and elevation.